All right, welcome in to another mock draft live stream. It's been a while. It's been almost a year at this point. I'm back with my good friend Mark Formichelli, and today we're going to try to go through a two-round mock using the Draft Network's mock draft machine. Mark, how are you doing today?
I'm doing very well, Sammy. Hopefully the same for you. I'm excited. I love doing mocks. Favorite time of the year. Second to postseason, I guess, but ready to get back into it. Very interesting. We're doing this post free agency, so that's obviously going to have some influence. It's been a crazy offseason already, so I'm just excited to get into it.
Yeah, a bunch of major trades and a lot of draft picks moving hands. I think the mock draft machine's updated. I know the
hmm
person who is in charge of updating it, and they usually are pretty on par, like keeping things up to date. So hopefully all the picks are where they're supposed to be. But for now, we're doing a full two-round mock draft, so we'll select every team and we'll go for 2 rounds.
You
All
want to
right, and
do
we haven't
odds or
decided
evens?
who's going to pick odds or
Yeah,
evens yet. We
I was
probably
going
should
to
have
say.
talked about that in the pre-show. I forgot to mention that, but let's see. Well, for you, doesn't really matter for you. You've got 15, 16, and 19.
True.
Do you want odds and I'll take evens because Pittsburgh's at 20?
Yeah, that's fine. I'll do that.
Okay, you're on the clock then first. Number one overall pick, Jacksonville Jaguars.
Jags. So pre-free agency, I had them taking Evan Neal because I think they need offensive line help, but they kind of addressed that in free agency already. And I think Aiden Hutchinson had a very, very good pro day. So, and he's my top edge rusher, and I think they're just going with the best player available. And I'm going to take Aiden Hutchinson to Jacksonville.
No, that makes sense. I think Aiden Hutchinson is the top player on my board as of right now.
hmm
Kyle Hamilton might be the most unique player for his position in the draft class, but Aiden Hutchinson's playing defensive end versus playing safety. There's positional value there. So I agree with this pick, Mark. This is my pick all along. I've always pushed for Aiden Hutchinson to go to the Jaguars, so I completely agree with you here.
Really, even pre-free agency, you didn't have
No, I did not
offensive
have Evan
line.
Neal.
Wow.
I did. I don't think Evan Neal. I did this thing. I haven't posted it yet, but I'm working on it, where I'm combining my rankings for the players at their positions last year and this year.
hmm
Evan Neal would have been my tackle 3 last year. So
Makes sense.
taking him at 1 overall just doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
But Detroit here at number 2. Detroit has 2 picks in the first round, so they have a little flexibility. They really don't need a tackle.
Mm-mm.
I mean, they've got Taylor Decker, who's really good at left tackle. They got Penei Sewell, who really showed out late in his rookie season. You could draft Evan Neal and play him at guard, or Ekwonu and play him at guard, and then eventually transition them to tackle if Taylor Decker moves on. Honestly, the lines are really hard to pick for.
I agree.
Let me pull up the depth chart 1 second. I think I know who I'm going to go with. I'm pretty sure I'm going to go with Kayvon Thibodeau, even though I know there's been some rumors that he's falling down draft boards a little bit.
Yeah.
But I know they just released one of their veteran defensive ends, so I'm going to keep it simple. Go Kayvon Thibodeau. I still view him as the third best player in this draft class behind Hutchinson and Kyle Hamilton. So for me, this is not a stretch.
Yeah, still a very talented player. Early on in the college football season, he probably would have been regarded as the number 1 pick, but obviously Hutchinson took that from him. Still a very good player. I think edge rushers are going to come flying off early here. That's not where I'm going to go with Houston, but it's still a very good pick for Detroit. Honestly, Detroit could, they need a lot. They're in the middle of their rebuild, so they can go with anything. Best player available.
All right, who do you got Houston taking?
Well, it would have been if you didn't take him with Detroit, it would have been him. Houston's tricky, so they need a quarterback now. I'm not going quarterback. I don't think this class, we'll get to that point a little bit later about how, we've talked endlessly about how this class is very weak. And I think they like Davis Mills. I think Davis Mills played fine last year. He exceeded expectations. Expectations were low. But Houston again is going to be looking, just grabbing pieces for a rebuild, getting talent where they can, and top 2 edge rushers are off. I don't think Jermaine Johnson is worth the number 3 pick. He's my next best edge rusher. So I'm going to take Kyle Hamilton. I think, like you said, he's probably your best player available on the board right now. And you're just trying to load talent on your roster, for the future.
Yeah, I think Houston, we can finally start to see the Texans begin this rebuilding process because last year they really weren't attempting anything. I feel bad for their head coach because everyone went into the year saying their head coach, who they brought in from Baltimore, was just going to be a lame duck head coach.
Mm-hmm.
And it's essentially what it was. I mean, we knew it going into the season. We knew it coming out of the year, and he was fired, unfortunately. But now that Deshaun Watson's finally off the roster and they have all those draft picks from Cleveland, they can finally begin to put a rebuild in process.
Correct.
Well, this is the first step to that. The Jets at 4. The Jets, I know people keep talking about giving the Jets edge rushers. I'm not fully in on that. They just paid John Franklin Myers last year. They gave him an extension. He's one of their defensive ends. There are defensive ends, Carl Lawson, who didn't play last year because he was hurt, but they paid him a lot of money in free agency. So I'm not all in on giving them a defensive end at this point in the draft. They have a pretty good swing tackle in George Fant, who actually did really good when he was starting last year. I think he'll be a starter for them next year. Mekhi Becton missed most of last season. He was supposed to come back during the year, but he dealt with weight issues where he's having trouble. He's putting on too much weight. And we know that's one of the things that make him a great player is he's so athletic for that size. But if you can't control your weight and it's going to consistently cause lower body injuries, that's a long-term concern. If you're the Jets right now and you're looking at the board and both of the best tackles are still available, Evan Neal, Ike Mekwonu, Charles Cross, I think you have to go tackle here, especially if the rumors about the organization having some frustrations regarding Mekhi Becton now are true. I think you have to go with the left tackle. I'm taking Evan Neal here.
Yeah, I agree with that. Definitely. I don't know. I think Evan Neal would be better for at right tackle. I think he's better in the run game than he is in the pass game, which is
you could do that too. I mean, you could play him right tackle as well. It doesn't have to be a pure left tackle situation.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, he's the number one tackle on the board, number one offensive lineman on the board, ranked for me. So I agree with the Jets pick there.
All right, that brings you up to the New York Giants. So we got one New York team down. The Giants are coming up. The Giants and Jets combined for 4 of the top 10 picks this year. Very similar needs.
Yeah.
What do you think is going to happen here?
Yeah, I have to pick for the Giants twice. So I want to go offensive line. I don't know if Ekwonu can play the right side because the Giants have Andrew Thomas on the left. So I don't know if he's going to be good enough if he can play on there because I think he played left tackle in college at NC State.
He played left tackle and he played some guard, I believe.
Yeah, so I don't know if he would be. So you just draft him for the talent.
We saw last year with Penei Sewell when he transitioned to right tackle. There certainly was there were some growing pains there, but he was able to pull it off by the end of the season. It's just it's a process. You can't expect it to be a clean transition.
Yeah, that's true. But I look at the Giants and I think, they have a lot going on in their organization, a lot of organizational woes. I mean, hopefully that's gone now that Joe Judge is gone. And Gettleman. So it's a fresh start in New York. I think they're gonna do the right thing. I'll take Ekwonu. I think he's we'll go back to back tackles. I'm very talented, and if he can play the right with Andrew Thomas on the left, it'll be even better. Like you said, it might take some transition time, but if they can get it done, it'll be very good for them.
No, I agree with your pick there. I think the Giants have been. My dad is a Giants fan, and he'll tell you one of the big reasons why they were able to win Super Bowls in the late 2000s and early 2010s because they had a solid offensive line. They didn't have superstars, but they had a solid offensive line.
Right.
And they've been trying to rebuild that line for 5 or 6 years now, and it's continuously falling apart. So I think the Giants will invest heavily in that line this year just to find some stability up front for their next quarterback eventually, because it's not going to be Daniel Jones that's going to save them.
Nope, it will not be. Agreed.
Yeah. But speaking of a team that needs help along the offensive line, the Carolina Panthers, some people have put Malik Willis going here, and I understand why. Matt Rule is desperate. Matt Rule's probably going to get fired after this year, realistically. I mean, given the fact that you didn't just sign Deshaun Watson, given all the issues you've had at quarterback, your inability to get Watson 2 years in a row, I think he's going to be gone after this year because they're not going to have good quarterback play. Even if they bring Malik Willis in, maybe it buys him a year. I don't think it would. And I think getting Malik Willis at 6 overall is definitely a stretch. Instead, from an organizational standpoint, if you're the general manager, you want to be pushing to build for their next quarterback and build for future seasons. In my opinion, they've had a different starting left tackle every year since Jordan Gross retired in 2013. They've had no stability along the offensive line. Charles Cross is not a guy I think is going to be the 6th best player in this draft class. I have him at 9 on my board. So 6 to 9, it's in the top 10. It's a little bit of a stretch, but I mean, for the stability you get with Charles Cross at tackle, being able to have a guy who could probably start for you 10 plus years at that position, I think it's worth it. So I'm going to go with Charles Cross here at 6.
I agree. I agree. Geez, offensive linemen are flying. Tackles specifically are flying off the board here. But I think I agree with you. Sam Darnold's not the answer, and I don't think they're interested in any of these quarterbacks in this class. At least not at 6, at least. Um, and it would take a miracle for Matt Rule to keep his job. They'd probably have to make the playoffs, and I don't think that's going to happen. And that Tom Brady just came back, so
Yeah.
there's
And
no
Tom
way.
Brady coming back completely ruins any situation you have, any chance you have. The Saints are
Yeah.
Saints have to be sitting there going, "Oh my god." The
Yeah.
Saints really probably felt they could have had Deshaun Watson. They could have potentially gone and made a really deep run there. And then Tom Brady comes back, and Deshaun Watson, who already eliminated the Browns from the conversation, decides to go to Cleveland anyways.
That's crazy times in the NFC South.
And I'd like to remind anyone who's watching, if you ever drop in on the stream, you can leave a comment, leave a question in the chat, and I'll talk about it. I mean, we'll answer any questions you guys have.
Mhm.
I'm going to make sure I get this posted to social media here in a minute. But, Mark, I'll do that while you make the pick for the New York Giants, their second pick of the first round.
Yeah, so in past mocks, I've had Kyle Hamilton fall to them, so they get one of those tackles and Kyle Hamilton. I don't see that happening as of late. I think Hamilton, we took him at 3 with Houston. So this is tricky for me. Based on my big board, I have corners at the top right now, and the Giants really don't need cornerbacks. I agree, edge rusher is a need, and interior offensive line as well, but I don't think any of these guys are worth the number 7 overall pick. So Jermaine Johnson's my number 1 edge rusher right now, available, and he's got some versatility. I don't think he's worth 7, but I think they're going to pick for need at this point because they already picked for talent and need at 5. So I'll go Jermaine Johnson at 7 here. I don't love it, but I think it's what they're going to do.
Yeah, Jermaine Johnson is, I think, my edge rusher 3. I think you said yours as well. But I think he's my edge 3. Let me look at my board real quick. Yeah, I have my edge 3 and 12th on my board. So it's not a bad pick, I don't think, at all. And the Giants, their biggest needs right now are along the offensive and defensive line. So taking Jermaine Johnson really plugs the hole there they have. I don't think it's a bad pick, Mark. I'm with you on this one. Oh, that brings up Atlanta. Atlanta is such a tricky team to pick for.
I know.
Because they're in such a weird spot, man. They're in such a weird spot. They have Matt Ryan, who you basically have made it financially impossible to move off of by constantly restructuring his deal.
Yeah.
Do you draft for a QB of the future? Because Matt Ryan to me is on the downside of his career at this point. It's a pretty consistent decline over the past 2 or 3 years. Or do you just attack the offensive line, the defensive line, where you've had problems for forever? You just go best player available. What do you do?
It's always tricky.
Yeah, I actually really dislike this. Okay. Well, and then wide receiver as well. Because I don't think you take a wide receiver at 8. That's a little too rich for me. But you don't have Calvin Ridley for a full year.
And Russell
Gage was likely going to get traded anyways.
Yeah. And Russell Gage just left. He went to Tampa. So
your
top option is Kyle Pitts, who's a good top option, but, you need more than that.
Yeah.
So what to do for Atlanta?
Well, you know what? They run a lot of zone defenses. We talked about this with AJ Terrell. They run a lot of zone defenses. And Terrell was a first-team All-Pro caliber player last year in that secondary. Ahmad Gardner has a lot of speed for a guy his size. But his skill set in press coverage and in zone is probably the best situations you put him in consistently. So I'm taking Ahmad Gardner here. He's my corner 1 because he doesn't have the injury concerns that Derek Stingley has.
Agreed.
And we've seen him perform at an elite level more recently than Stingley. So I'm taking Ahmad Gardner, and we're going to put him with AJ Terrell and have one of the best cornerback duos in the NFL.
That's an elite secondary between the two of them. Gardner's my top corner as well. I would love he's pre-combine. A lot of people say, "Oh, he'll fall to the Eagles," but he really showed out. So, and he's my top corner. Like you mentioned, the same thing with the injury concerns with Stingley. So, man, I hate that, but it's realistic. So I'll accept it. Oh man, Seattle's rough too.
Seattle, another interesting team. You get this one.
I'd love to go quarterback. I don't think they're gonna do it because do they roll with Drew Lock? Do they trade? They can't. I don't think San Fran would trade for Jimmy G. Do they get Baker? Is Seattle in on Baker? Do you know anything about that? Probably not.
I don't know anything about that. I know that the teams that would probably be on bigger that have shown some interest include Indianapolis and Seattle. I know they're interested. They're making calls about it, but that doesn't mean they're necessarily going to go after it.
Yeah.
The
I
question
don't
is,
see.
how do you weigh Baker Mayfield, like a healthy Baker Mayfield versus the top quarterback in this draft class?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I would hate to take a quarterback at 9. I don't think any of them are worth it. However, I don't know what else they would do here. I don't really like any of the tackles left. My next one is Trevor Penning, but I don't think he's a top 10 pick.
No, not in my opinion either.
I don't love it. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Malik Willis. I don't love it, but I'm gonna do it.
Really?
I think yeah.
All right, Mark.
Because
That's not bad. I don't hate that pick. It's not a bad selection, but
no, it's not. But
it is very high risk, high reward kind of scenario.
Yeah, I mean the dude's got a cannon, but we'll see how it plays out. Having Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf as your top 2 options on an offense is definitely the way to develop a quarterback. So,
assuming they don't trade either of those guys away.
True. They might be going full rebuild mode. So we'll see.
All right, the Jets are up at 10. This is an interesting spot. So the offensive line, we can just check off the offensive line for now. They're fixed. The wide receiver room, they don't really have a wide receiver 1. Corey Davis is probably your best option, followed by Elijah Moore. In the secondary, your corners right now are DJ Reed, who you signed in free agency, and you have Bryce Hall. You got Michael Carter, who you drafted last year as your slot option. Yeah, this is people will make the argument that Robert Saleh's defense doesn't value corners, and I get that argument. I think they have enough in the secondary to get by this year. But I mean, I already made the argument against drafting an edge rusher this high because you had 2 guys who you invested a lot of money in, and you just signed Jacob Martin from Houston. He can't be your smaller, more bit of a hybrid edge rusher. So if I am the Jets, I'm still taking Derek Stingley at this spot.
Yeah.
I'm part of this partially because I don't want him to fall down to Baltimore at 14. So I'll admit there's a little bit of a Steelers bias in there. I don't want him getting to 14. But I will say this, again, I understand the argument for drafting an edge rusher with all the athletic talent that Travon Walker has, but Travon Walker has no pass rush plan whatsoever. Yeah. It's quite clear watching him. He has no idea what he's doing with his hands yet. He has no secondary moves once he gets stopped initially. So that's a long-term developmental guy, which might fit the Jets' timeline. But again, you already have 2 guys you've invested a lot of money in a free agent you just signed. So I'm going to go with Derek Stingley Jr. here.
Yeah, I think that's a good pick for them. I'd agree that maybe Robert Saleh doesn't really value corners. Even in San Fran, they didn't have, they had good corners, but not super elite corners like a lot of teams seem to want. But again, if you're the Jets, you're looking at your team. You're like, all right, we're kind of in a rebuild. Had some mild success last year. I think Zach Wilson's going to be all right. But so they're just taking the best player available. And for me, on my board at least, that would have been Stingley. So I agree with the pick there.
All right, Mark, we're getting out of the top 10 now to 11. It's Washington. The Washington Commanders.
Yes, the Washington Commanders with quarterback Carson Wentz at the helm here.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, we'll see how that plays out.
Hey, it might be long term. It might actually benefit Philadelphia to have him there.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I've talked about Wentz enough. Everyone knows how I feel. So I will focus on drafting for Washington here. They have Terry McLaurin at wide receiver. Beyond that, I don't really love their other options. Wentz is going to need someone to throw to or overthrow in his case. I look at the wide receivers. I like Jameson Williams a lot. Unfortunately, with the injury, I don't know how he's going to come back or if he's even going to be on track to play this year to start the season. So my next best receiver is Drake London at a USC. So I think Williams is going to fall because of the injury. So I'm going to go with Drake London here at 11.
Yeah, Drake London is also, I believe, my top receiver at this point.
Yeah.
He is coming off I think, fractured ankle. It's either a fractured or broken ankle, but that occurred earlier in the year than Jameson Williams for about 2 or 3 months. I think he'll have time to get back and maybe be ready by the start of the season.
Yeah.
I think there was even a chance he might run at his pro day. I forget. So he's he's significantly ahead of the pace compared to Jameson Williams.
Exactly. I should have mentioned that. Yes, London's also coming off injury, but like you said, it's much further ahead on his comeback schedule than Williams is.
All right, that takes us to Minnesota. Minnesota is an interesting team because they are, again, another team that's trapped kind of in the middle here.
Mm-hmm.
They've got guys like Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson. They have Kirk Cousins, who's a decent quarterback, but not a world record by any sense. They're keeping Danielle Hunter on the defensive line. So what can I really do to help them out here? I mean, they always draft corners, and they still need cornerback help, frankly. I don't know how they manage to pull this off consistently, but they always do. And they could use another edge rusher to pair alongside Hunter, assuming Hunter is healthy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Minnesota's always tough. Like you mentioned corners, I think they took who did they Gladney recently? He's not even with the team anymore, right?
No, he's in Arizona right now.
Yeah, so they just can't hit on the corners, it seems.
You know what? I'm gonna go corner again though, and hopefully they hit on this one. I'm gonna give him Andrew Booth Jr. from Clemson. I know a lot about Andrew Booth because I got to see him in person for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
He's an elite athlete, very good agility wise. It's just that right now he's relatively new to the position. He has about 2 years of starting time at it right now, so you can see his footwork's a little off at times. He's a little jumpy. The instincts are there when it comes to the ball's in the air. He has the instincts at that point, but sometimes before the ball is released, he can make some bad reads. He's got all the agility, all the athleticism to mirror guys in passing routes. But it's just the experience is not there yet. So we'll see how that progresses. But I think I like him as a developmental corner who could be a starter in year one and be potentially a Pro Bowler by year 2 or year 3.
Yeah, I agree with the pick. I'm not happy about it because I wanted him to fall to 15, and he just took him from me. But that's okay. Damn it, Sammy.
Hey, you know what? You're still going to get. There's still one corner out there unless he goes at 14, which is my next pick. So we'll see.
Yeah, no, I don't think you'd give both. I don't think you're going to be biased for your Baltimore pick. But that takes us to Houston again. I think same situation as last time. They're just going to look at this board. They're going to, they're going to build around whoever they're taking in this draft. I think Kyle Hamilton is a great defensive back to build around. And I'm looking at my my board here. Edge rusher, yeah, but Trevon Walker, like you mentioned, is really not there in terms of pass rushing. But maybe that's okay because again, you're doing a rebuild, so you have the time to develop them. Really good that Georgia defense was a standout, as we know. So I think you're going to take Trevon Walker and develop him as your future edge rusher.
I do like this pick at this time because it's your second pick in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this is a team that's in a 2 or 3 year rebuild right now. It's probably going to be more like a 3 or 4 year rebuild.
Mm-hmm.
So Trevon Walker will be ready by the time you reach that point. So I do think that's a good pick. And that gives me Baltimore.
Mm-hmm.
Joy. Yeah, let's see what I can do for Baltimore here. They do have Marcus Peters on a really hefty contract coming back this year after getting injured last year.
Mm-hmm.
He's a little bit older. They could save a lot of money by cutting him. So you really could go corner here with Trent McDuffie. I just think there's some concern there because Trent McDuffie, I think, is actually my corner 3. But I do believe there's some concern there about his size and arm length and that kind of stuff. I don't know if that's really important for this conversation, but I do know that's an issue for some teams.
Mm-hmm.
And some teams are likely going to view him as just a slot option.
Yeah, he's under 6 feet. So I know when if I was a GM, I'd like my outside corners because that's what he projects as. I'd like my outside corners to be over 6 feet, ideally. So.
Yeah, I'm looking at them right now. I mean, they really need help. Their edge rushers are okay, but they could use help on the edge as like smaller edge rushers, like outside linebackers almost. They could use help along the interior defensive line.
Mm-hmm.
Those are probably 2 main areas. I would say receiver as well, but they just drafted Rashad Bateman in the first round last year, and he really has not gotten a chance to play because of injuries.
Yeah.
So Marquise Brown.
And Mark Andrews.
I don't like this pick. I don't like this at all. Let's see.
I usually go D-line with the Ravens. I've been in the 2 box I've done.
I don't.
But it's tough.
I don't value nose tackles really that much. I think they do need a center.
Ooh, really?
Yeah, they do. That's the
Well,
one spot
no,
in the offensive line they
yeah.
actually need help. The
Yes,
center.
I agree. They need a center, but I'm surprised that they're gonna.
It's very high.
It's high for a only center at 14.
Yeah, I know. I don't love it. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to mind game my way out of this, but
I'd like that pick though for them.
uh,
I assume you're talking Linderbaum.
yeah, we're just gonna do it.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
think
like I
that's
said. I
fine.
don't love this pick, but I mean, it's Tyler Linderbaum or it's Jordan Davis here, pretty
Yeah,
much.
yeah,
And
exactly.
I don't. The value of a starting center at 14 probably isn't very high for positional value. The value at starting nose tackle at 14 is not very high for positional value.
Right.
So you're really, and in my opinion, most of the premier guys at this point are gone off the board.
Hmm.
So there's only so much you can do. Uh, Tyler Linderbaum, 14, probably the best center I've seen in college in the past while. I would say probably past 5 years, maybe at least. The last center I knew had a lot of hype coming out of college that I really liked was Marquise Pouncey. He went to Pittsburgh almost
Hmm.
a decade ago. So uh, Tyler Linderbaum goes to 14 to Baltimore.
I like that pick for them. And when you're talking about positional value, I think a pure nose tackle at 14 would be much less in terms of value. Because think from Baltimore's perspective, you're a fringe playoff team, so you can afford to invest maybe taking a stretch, taking a center at 14. So I agree with that.
All right, now we're on to your Philadelphia Eagles, Mark. Your first pick for Philadelphia.
Yeah, I don't really love anything on the board here. The Eagles didn't get any of the wide receiver. Well, they got Greg Ward, but they didn't get any of those big name wide receivers in free agency. They were in on them, but Christian Kirk kind of reset the market. And then Allen Robinson took, Allen Robinson could have easily been probably the highest paid wide receiver in the NFL if he went to any other team, because he's better than Christian Kirk just based on the contract. But I think he took a friendlier deal just to sign with the Rams and probably get a ring. So I'd like to go wide receiver, but I like Jamison Williams. I don't trust him enough. Like it'd be interesting to pair another Alabama wide receiver. Um, but I don't really view him as an outside guy. I think he's a slot guy, and the Eagles have Quez Watkins. My next best receiver would be Olave. Um, but we have two more picks. So D line and edge rushers are few and far in between right now. I see Devontae Wyatt. I think I'm going to go with him.
All right,
D-
yeah, this is a guy who I had
yeah.
going to my. I did a short Eagles mock draft, I think the other night. I had them taking Devontae Wyatt.
Hmm.
And you complained about it to me because you didn't see it. But
Yeah, I didn't see it. I was like, how did you not pick any of, they were there, and then I saw it. But yes. Yeah, I think it's a good pick. I mean, you have Javon Hargrave and we just re-signed Fletcher Cox. But Cox is getting old. His productivity is declining. Hargrave had a Pro Bowl year last year. So he's solid. Cox has only got so much time left, and I think Wyatt can pair nicely with Hargrave and then Milton Williams once his time comes. So Eagles need to get younger on the D line, so this can help.
I do think you need a wide receiver here at some point for Philadelphia because I get your next pick at 16. You do need a receiver at some point here.
Hmm.
Um, I have Trent McDuffie very high on my board. I've got him at 11
Hmm.
on my big board. We're at 16 now. So I'm going to take Trent McDuffie here because really, I mean, the only other guys who I would consider at this point for Philadelphia would be George Karlaftis, Zion Johnson, and maybe Jameson Williams. Those are the only other
Hmm.
guys I would really even look at for Philadelphia at this point.
Yeah.
So of that group, cornerback's probably the area you need the most help right now. So I'm going to take Trent McDuffie.
Yeah, I like McDuffie. And what's nice in Jonathan Cannon's defense, you don't really play a lot of press man, right on the ball. So the size concern can not be washed away, but certainly minimized. So I like McDuffie. Yes, we need a cornerback too. Right now, it's Zach McPherson, who is decent, but I don't think he's ready for that. So I think McDuffie's a good pick there.
All right, the Chargers are up. The Chargers who have added J.C. Jackson and Khalil Mack already this offseason.
Yeah. Oh my God. I disagree with D line being a need. Interior D line, yes. but definitely not edge rushers. They've got Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack now. It's too early for Jordan Davis. Plus, he doesn't really fit that scheme very well. Oh, he's still on the board. Perfect. My favorite defensive lineman in this draft. I think it's early for him, but I think the Chargers, again, look at themselves as a fringe playoff team. I'm taking DeMarvin Leal.
I knew
at
you were going to do
17.
that. I knew it. I went right to DeMarvin Leal as soon as I heard you say that.
I love him. He's I compare him to Aaron Donald a lot. I think he's going to be phenomenal. So I'll eat those words because we're live. If it doesn't pan out. But I love DeMarvin Leal. I wish the Eagles would have taken him. I think Devontae Wyatt's better, but I love DeMarvin Leal. I think he's a great, very underrated prospect. So 17.
You and I are going to be at heads on this one because DeMarvin Leal is 59th on my draft board.
Oh.
So you and I are going to have to disagree on this one, but that's cool. I mean, it's good to have some disagreements.
Of course.
I do think that's one of the guys who I'm pretty low on right now, but could legitimately turn things around and have a really good career. The Saints are in an interesting spot. Because again, this is another team that's really stuck between a rebuild and being a competitor. I mean, they just missed the playoffs last year, barely. Wide receiver is the obvious need for them. They're going to need a left tackle. Now, Teron Armstead is a free agent and likely not re-signing with them, considering their cap situation. Cornerback's not great either. Although they do have Paulson Debo, who they drafted last year, and I like him quite a bit.
Yeah, I'm high on him.
If I had to pick Trevor Penning, I'm still not a huge Trevor Penning guy. I've never been a huge Trevor Penning guy. I'm not going to be a huge Trevor Penning guy.
Nope.
So I'm going to go wide receiver. And this is where the fall steps. I'm still going to take Jameson Williams here. I know he's going to miss some time, but again, I like Jameson Williams quite a bit. And looking at the guys here, I have Drake London, Jameson Williams, my top two receivers, and then a drop to the third guy. So it's just those two for me who are really in this elite range. I'm going to take Jameson Williams here and give them a good pairing, who hopefully will play with Michael Thomas, assuming Thomas is healthy and back to his usual self.
Yeah, I agree with this pick. I want to go back to your rant. You don't have Olave. Let's tier it. I guess you have Williams and
Let me sort it so I can have the wide receivers all in one spot.
So I
got Drake London, wide receiver 1 at 10.
Yeah.
James Williams, wide receiver 2 at 14. That's a drop to 27. We're at Chris Olave.
I compare it a lot to when Jerry Jeudy, CeeDee Lamb, and Henry Ruggs were coming out of college. I think Olave's right up there with them. Like Olave's the worst of the three, but which is fine. But I think he's right there, like right behind him.
I think Olave has a high floor but low ceiling.
That's fair.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's how I view Chris Olave. Chris Olave to me is a high-end wide receiver too. Jameson Williams is a potential wide receiver 1. I think he's more dynamic than Henry Ruggs.
That's true. That's fair.
But that's where I leave it. And then I have Garrett Wilson, wide receiver 4, and Treylon Burks, wide receiver 5.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that.
All right, so it's your pick now. 19, get Philadelphia Eagles one more time in the first round.
Nope. Pick up the phone. So,
all right.
So
what are you calling?
Call Atlanta. Atlanta's calling to.
All right.
And they're taking Kenny Pickett.
Really?
Yes. I think it's interesting. You need some flair. I think the Eagles, and don't give the Eagles make it like a first next year, just because I think that's what's going to happen, and then do whatever you got to do just for fun. But yeah, I think there's no way Howie makes 3 first-round picks, because as much as I love Jalen Hurts, if he's not the guy, I think Howie wants to load up on picks for next year to try to trade up and get either Bryce Young or I'm drawing a blank. Stroud.
Oh, Bryce Young or CJ Stroud next
year?
Yeah,
CJ Stroud. Yes, from Ohio State. So
yeah, you could potentially really. Oh, go ahead.
I think Jalen Hurts is good. Like you know that other people watching might not, but I think Jalen Hurts is going to be a good quarterback. If Howie's not sold on him, he needs to have a backup plan in case Jalen Hurts is not the guy. So you trade picks just to get some stock for next year. And I think Atlanta is going to need a quarterback of the future. I think they're going to go in panic mode because they've missed out now on Deshaun Watson. They blew another lead. So I think Kenny Pickett is going to be Atlanta's pick at 19.
Yeah, and just for reference, the Falcons would have to move up from 43 all the way up to 19 to get this done.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not going to let me do the trade the way I want to do it because of how the simulator is working out. But essentially, it would be a first-round pick in 2022, and I'm going to make it work so you get – I'm just going to play around with it to make it work so you get 58 this year.
Yeah.
I think you really could get, in this deal, a first- and second-round pick if Atlanta's moving up for a quarterback and they're moving up that many spots.
I agree.
I'm going to play around with it, and I'm going to make it look really weird. But I'm just going to do it so that way you can get a second-round pick this year. I think that's what you would get second this year and a first next year. In my opinion.
Agreed.
So,
because they have 2 second-round picks to play with, so they can, if they're really going to trade up for a quarterback, which I think they will. And they're taking.
So you get Kenny Pickett here.
Tiny hands, Kenny.
All right, Pittsburgh's on the board. My opinion on what Pittsburgh is going to do has changed quite a bit over the course of the past week or so, because they made some good moves and they made some really terrible moves. They went out and they got James Daniels at right guard, which I think is awesome. You got Mason Cole compete at center, which is pretty good. They went back and got Chuck Okafor at right tackle. They re-signed him, which is awful. They gave him over $10 million a year to be a subpar right tackle. They got Miles Jack, which was amazing. They got back some of their corners. They got back Akil Weatherspoon. They got Levi Wallace from the Bills at really cheap prices. I'm really happy about those additions, but overall, a mixed bag for Pittsburgh. I don't think linebackers are needed anymore because they got Miles Jack. Edge rusher is probably a secondary need you can address later on in the draft to get some depth there. Corner, Levi Wallace is a starter. Cameron Sutton and Akil Weatherspoon are your 3.
No Desmond Ridder for Pittsburgh here, Sam?
Yep. No. Drew mentioned Desmond Ridder. He's his most pro-ready QB. I know that the guys at Pro Football Focus, Mike Renner, believes Desmond Ridder is the most pro-ready quarterback. I don't like Desmond Ridder quite a bit. I've watched a lot of Desmond Ridder. I know someone who is a quarterbacks coach who had offers at a time to be in the NFL and be an assistant coach in the NFL who highly dislikes Desmond Ridder because of his inaccuracies and some of the issues he has as a quarterback. Now, and he tends to be fairly accurate when it comes to these quarterbacks based on his recent history when it comes to analyzing them. So I am not a big fan of Desmond Ridder at all in terms of this quarterback class. Although overall, I am probably lower on all these QBs than most people are. Desmond Ridder is my QB 5 this year. I don't believe he has a very high-end ceiling. So, Drew, I think we're going to have to disagree there. I think I could see Desmond Ridder definitely going at the back end of the first round, but 20 overall is absolutely too high for him.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
I agree with you.
Like I said, I could see him going, if we're talking about Detroit at 32. I could absolutely see Desmond Ridder being in play there, but not here. Frankly, I probably wouldn't even take Kenny Pickett at 19 like you did, Mark. I probably wouldn't even do that. Let's see what else I can do. All right, Pittsburgh. I've been stalling here trying to think about what I'm going to do. I probably should have thought more about this ahead of time. Pittsburgh. I love Zion Johnson so much, man. Zion Johnson is so freaking awesome. He can play tackle. He can play guard. He's starting to learn how to play center. And look at the corners. I do like some of the corners available. I'm a big Roger Mercuri guy. I do like Kyer Elam as well, but probably not until the top of the second round. Trevor Penning's still on the board. I think he's got to go sooner rather than later. But again, I don't buy the Trevor Penning hype really. I don't really want to be in on that.
You like Zion Johnson more than Kenyon Green? Because Green also has versatility.
Yeah.
I like Green.
Yeah, I like Zion Johnson more than Kenyon Green. Wow. Watching Kenyon Green move around without pads on, he's very clunky to some extent.
Yeah.
These movements are very segmented. He's not going to be able to play tackle in the NFL. He's going to have to play guard. Zion Johnson, I think, has more potential to eventually be able to play tackle the same way that take Zion Johnson. The same way that the guy I forget his name now. In Green Bay, he was drafted as a guard. He played tackle this past year before he got hurt. I'm trying to remember his name. I'll look it up right now. Elton Jennings. Jennings. That's what I'm thinking about. The ability to come to the NFL, be a guard, be an elite guard, and then eventually transition outside to play tackle. I think Zion Johnson has some of that potential. I'm only viewing him as a guard in this sense, Well, I still want to upgrade this offensive line somehow. You need to add something there. So Zion Johnson's my pick.
Yeah, blocking for Mitch Trubisky. I like the pick.
Mitch Trubisky, man. Maybe I should have drafted Desmond Ritter. All right, you got New England.
So I was roasted for picking. I think I went Dean here in my previous mock, and I was roasted for that.
You're welcome.
So I don't know. I agree with the Draft Network that they need defensive backs, but none of them are worth a pick here. You can probably get a decent one in the second round. It's a tough spot. I'd love to go. Devin Lloyd is there. I'd love to pick Devin Lloyd. I think he's a phenomenal player, but I don't think he really fits that scheme that Bill Belichick runs. Wide receiver, I agree. I think that offense can be a lot better than it was last year if you add a receiver. So I'm going to take my 1C receiver, Chris Olave, to the Patriots at 21.
All right. Yeah, I think he's got really good speed and route running, obviously. I think he's got a pretty high floor for a receiver. Brings up Green Bay. Green Bay, I would look at right tackle for them. I would consider it. But, I mean, really, I don't think you can do anything until you address wide receiver. I really don't think you can do anything until you get a receiver out there. Looking at the board. I
don't think Rodgers would appreciate that if they didn't.
Yeah, finally draft a receiver.
Get him another weapon.
Yeah, looking at the board, people are going to probably say Treylon Burks and yell Treylon Burks. I'm not a huge Treylon Burks fan. He reminds me too much of Laviska Shenault, who's in Jacksonville right now. You just have to manufacture so many touches for him. He's not really a great route runner. Some people have Garrett Wilson as wide receiver 1 in this draft. I don't, but some people do. And if you're one of those people, you'll probably like to see Garrett Wilson go off the board at 22 here. So I'm going to put Garrett Wilson. He's not going to be the perfect fit because he's not going to be anywhere near close to what Devontae Adams was as a player. But he's going to give you someone who's going to consistently be able to get open with his route running and ability to create separation. He's got solid speed. That's going to help you out quite a bit. Arizona.
Yeah, Arizona's tricky. I agree again with the Draft Network that they need cornerbacks. But I'm gonna make a I'd like to hear your thoughts on this. I want to make a left field pick. I love Karlaftis. I think he's very underrated of the edge rushers. And Ajobo has the injury, so I think he's gonna fall a little bit more. So I'm gonna take to Arizona. I'm gonna give them Karlaftis. I think he's a very, very underrated edge rusher. In a class that's full of edge rushers, I think he's very good.
Yeah, I think he's a solid player. I think he's fallen because he didn't test ridiculous. He doesn't have the agilities of Aiden Hutchinson or Ajabo or any one of those guys, so that's why he's falling down so far. He probably wasn't as good against the run this past year as he should have been. I know some people are even saying that Boye Mafe might jump him because Mafe is so athletic. But Karlaftis here at 23, is it the perfect fit? I don't really know. By adding something like that talent to Arizona will certainly help that defensive front out quite a bit, especially if J.J. Watt can't stay healthy. Karlaftis can probably play a little bit of that J.J. Watt role where he plays a defensive end position in that defense and can transition inside and play a little bit of a defensive tackle role as well.
What do you do with
Dallas?
I'm
glad you made that move because it just makes my life really easy. Dallas is going to take Trevor Penning, and he's going to be the replacement for La'el Collins. And that's going to be that.
Yeah, I think that's an easy pick for Dallas. They didn't cut him officially yet, right? Like he's going to be a post.
No, they might have designated him with the post June 1st cut, but he's still technically a free agent right now.
Oh,
because you can do a designation and still make him a free agent. That way, guys don't miss out on the free agent market.
Oh, gotcha. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's a way of kind of keeping the players from losing millions of dollars.
Good for them. All right, Buffalo. I agree again with the Draft Network. They need defensive tackles. I don't think any of them are worth taking here. Jordan, he had a good combine, but it's like you've said, Sammy, he's just a nose tackle. He's nothing more than that.
Yeah, and I don't know what his playing weight's even going to be. 'Cause he
Yeah.
seems to have lost a little bit of weight for the combine compared to where he was in college. I really don't know like what the plan is. You have to have a plan for him
Hmm.
going into his first year, how to develop him and what his playing weight has to be for
Hmm.
him to succeed in a certain scheme.
Yeah. I mean, I think he'll be good. I think, I don't know, Sean McDermott, defensive minded head coach up in Buffalo. I think he can probably have a plan for Jordan Davis, and I think teams are going to like what he can bring to the table. So, especially after that 4.8 40,
You know,
something
like
like that.
4.81 or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll give Jordan Davis to Buffalo. I think McDermott can make him work.
Yeah, and there's an opportunity for him to be a little bit more than a two-down nose tackle if he can find the right weight.
Hmm.
I think so, there's an opportunity for that, but again, he has to find the right way because right now he's not a pass rusher. He is purely just a run stopper, and not from an analytics standpoint, he's not an elite run stopper. He's a
Right.
very good run stopper, but he's not like a top of the class run stopper, which
No.
is the one thing he's supposed to do really well.
Right.
Devontae Wyatt, you mentioned Devontae Wyatt.
Hmm.
Drew, he was already gone. Let me find out where he went. Devontae Wyatt went a lot earlier to
I took
the
him.
Philadelphia Eagles here at
Hmm.
15. Mark picked him off the board that early, which I agree with that pick. I mean, if you're going to go into your defensive line, make sure you get him right away. And they did. That's the one guy in this draft class who I view as both a run stopper and a pass rusher who can go in the first round and be both those guys.
Hmm.
Tennessee at 26 has him needing a wide receiver. They just traded for Robert Woods. Robert
Yeah.
Woods coming off a torn ACL, but I think he should be ready in time for the start of the season based on when
Hmm.
the injury occurred. So that still puts Tennessee on the board. They got Robert Woods for fairly cheap, even though Robert Woods is going to cost them a lot of money
Yeah.
next year. Huh.
It's
All right.
tough.
Well, everyone talks about linebackers to Tennessee, but I'm going to avoid doing that if I can, because frankly, linebacker here would probably just hurt you financially.
Hmm.
You got Harold Landry back, which is huge. Nico Autry was awesome from them this past year. So was Jeffrey Simmons. Austin Hooper in free agency was a great upgrade at tight end. This team's actually looking really nice now that's all coming together for them.
Yeah.
But Dylan Radins, they drafted last year, be a potential guard for them. I was thinking about Kenyon Green, but that really doesn't make a perfect fit. I'm going to look at wide receiver, actually.
Ooh.
Treylon Burks. I don't love that, but yeah, I'm going to make that the pick. I'm going to take Treylon Burks here. I'm going to put Treylon Burks and A.J. Brown together along with Robert Woods. And we're just going to see. Because they have to be able to offensively compete with Kansas City, with what Buffalo's going to do, with Cincinnati, with what Cleveland's going to do now. They have to be able to stay in those games if you're the Titans. And I think adding someone like Treylon Burks, again, not my favorite receiver in this class because you have to manufacture touches for him.
Hmm.
But pairing him with A.J. Brown, Robert Woods will give him an opportunity to maybe see some lesser coverages and kind of develop as a player as the year goes on.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Like
Tampa Bay, the Buccaneers. Tom Brady's back.
led by Tom Brady. I want to say before I start looking at interior, I know their guard retired, but I think
Yeah,
they
they traded for
traded
Shaq
Shaq
Mason from New England. So they have a right guard. They still potentially need a left guard.
Yeah, I think Kenyon Green, like you said, he's only going to be a guard for now. He maybe could play tackle. I know you don't think that's going to happen. I don't think they need wide receivers. I question why the Draft Network says that.
This probably has not been updated since they signed Russell Gage and they re-signed Rashad Perryman.
Yeah.
There's also the chance that Chris Godwin's going to miss time next year because of his torn ACL. That might be a reason why.
That's true. I'm not gonna do it. I'm gonna go Kenyon Green and throw him at left guard.
I agree with that move.
I think they have Stinney or Stein. I don't know how to say it. They're at left guard right now. Who serviceable, but I think if Kenyon Green falls to 27, I think that's a solid pick for them.
All right, Green Bay is back on the board. We went wide receiver already with them. They cut Zadarius Smith. They still have Preston Smith on the roster, and they have Rashawn Gary, who was really good this past year. I think they could eventually save money, though, by cutting Preston Smith. And he's not been an elite edge rusher for them the past couple years anyways. So if you're going to get an upgrade on edge rusher, which I think you could do, you could also use an upgrade on the offensive line, but there's no one here I would really consider for that role, whether it be on the interior or at tackle. So if you're looking at getting an upgraded edge rusher, I'm not touching Ojabo with the torn Achilles because, frankly, he's a developmental guy anyways. According to Matt Miller, who worked previously, and thank you, Drew, for commenting. Oh, damn, Burks to Tennessee would be interesting. I think it would be a really unique fit with him and AJ Brown and Robert Woods on the same team.
Wow.
But Matt Miller, who used to be the draft guy for Bleacher Report, who now works for ESPN independently, he said from what he heard from teams, they were viewing Ojabo as a project player anyways. He was not going to see a ton of snaps in year one. He was essentially going to be what Jason Odafe was last year, basically. Kind of guy who gets a lot of developmental snaps, who gets a lot of designated pass rushing opportunities. So if that was the role for Ojabo, I don't like him in Green Bay anyways because the Packers need to win now.
All right.
I'm thinking Boye Mafe, the edge rusher from Minnesota. Very athletic kind of guy. Will fit really well alongside Rashawn Gary. Kind of not necessarily a similar build, but similar dominant physical traits, I'll say. So Boye Mafe goes into the first round.
Yeah, I think similar to the Ravens pick. It's like you're a playoff team that's looking to win now, so you just gotta upgrade where you can.
Miami.
I don't know if I really like. I would have given them Burks if we didn't give him to Tennessee. My next best receiver is Dotson. That would pair nicely with Jalen Waddle. I think. I can't. I think Will Fuller is done. I think that was a 1-year deal, so he's not going.
Yeah,
back.
he's gone. He's gone.
Yeah. So they need someone else. I like Dotson. I think that would be an interesting pairing. I think this is Tua's. I'm gonna go Dotson. I think this is Tua's probably last chance. Because new head coach, didn't even draft him. And the old head coach wasn't really that fond of him, and Brian Flores. So this is Tua's last chance. If the Dolphins don't make the playoffs, I think he's probably going to be gone. So they're going to try to get him some help. And if it doesn't work out,
I think him and general manager Chris Greer could both basically be fired after the year if things don't go well.
No.
Kansas City. The Chiefs have signed Juju Smith-Schuster. They signed Justin Reed to replace Tyrann Mathieu. The cornerback position is kind of a rerun of what it was last year, except for Mike Hughes not being there. They could use some help with defensive tackle, some help on the edge. But they need to win now, so Ojabo's not really in play.
Mm-hmm.
And wide receiver at this point has been picked over. I like Christian Watson quite a bit. I have Christian Watson as my wide receiver 6. I have Jahan Dotson, actually. I have him at 40 overall on my board, but I still think it'd be a bit of a reach to take him at 30 here.
Right. Looking
at what's available, Kyrie Elam's out there, but I'm taking Daxton Hill. And this might not fit because they just signed Justin Reed.
Mm-hmm.
And I probably want to start him alongside Juan Thornhill. So I can understand people would be skeptical of taking Daxton Hill here, but Daxton Hill can play slot corner as well. And he is probably the closest guy to matching, him and Jalen Petrie both, matching a little bit of the versatility that Tyrann Mathieu would bring you. So I know Drew says go get Kyrie Elam. I'm sorry, man. I don't really love Kyrie Elam's fit there in that secondary. Kyrie Elam to me is going to be a guy who's going to be so heavy on the zone, in my opinion. I don't know. I wouldn't love him in Kansas City. I really just wouldn't, unfortunately. Although I do think there's a chance he goes in the first round.
Drew, I can make that happen with my pick right now. I have Kyrie Elam. It's going to be whoever's available between the two. I think Elam's better than McCreary. So if Elam is gone for Cincinnati, I think they'll take McCreary. They're going to take corner either way. They were an Eli Apple away from winning the Super Bowl. So I think a team that's in win now mode, which is crazy because they had the number 1 overall pick 2 years ago. But yeah, I'm going to go Kyrie Elam to Cincinnati.
They have, in fact, Mark, re-signed Eli Apple.
I know, which is crazy, but I guess because it was better than nothing. But yeah, they're going to take one of these corners here.
All right. quarterbacks are going off the board very slow, Mark. And I forgot to mention this at the start of the show. I knew they were going to come off the board very slow because I knew I wasn't going to be the one who wanted to pick them. I knew you probably weren't going to be the one who wanted to pick them. So I knew they were going to fall pretty far. I think I've made you take quarterback both times, though, so far.
Yes.
I've avoided it. But, oh, man, I don't know. It's Ritter, Corral, Sam Howell, Carson Strong. I'm not a big fan of Carson Strong at this point. I've completely fallen off a cliff in my view of him. So it's Howell, Corral, or Ritter at quarterback. And they pick again at 34. So chances are most of what you're looking at here on the board is still going to be available at 34.
Yeah.
So here's what you got to do. You have to take a quarterback. If you're going to take a quarterback here in one of these two picks, you have to take him at 32 because that way you will have the team option or you have the fifth-year option. That fifth-year option, well, still a lot of money, is less than what the guy would get on the market.
Yes.
If you got him on the second round, he would only have 4 years of cap control, and then he would go on the open market and probably cost you up to $20 million more than it would if you just gave him the fifth-year option. So you have to take your quarterback here at this spot. Buying time. My top remaining quarterback is it's Matt Corral.
I was going to say that's who mine is.
I don't like that at all. All right, well, I'm just going to put this out here. I don't like this at all. I completely disagree with the notion that one of these quarterbacks is worth taking at the spot here.
They're not.
But the value of drafting a quarterback here is too high to pass up on. It really is. It's a play for value. That's what the decision is here. So we know Jared Goff is not the long-term answer. I have Matt Corral ranked one spot ahead of Sam Howell on my big board and ranked maybe 10 spots ahead of Desmond Ritter. I'll take Corral.
Yeah, I was going to say. Corral's your developmental guy. You know, you can play Jared Goff for, I don't know what his contract looks like. I don't know how many years he's guaranteed left in Detroit, but you'll play Goff as your bridge quarterback, and then you'll roll with Matt Corral eventually in Detroit.
That makes me so mad. I'm so mad I had to do that. All right. Mark, you get Jacksonville.
This is tough. I'd like to go. Oh, you took him already. Trevor Penning.
Who are we going to go?
I was Trevor Penning. But I don't think he'll make it to 33.
No.
Anyway, so that makes sense. We took Hutchinson first overall. These linebackers are still on the board, and they just lost Miles Jack.
They did just sign a linebacker for a lot of money, though.
I know. I don't really like safety. My next best safety is Jaquan Brisker, but I guess he's got some versatility too.
My next best safety is
I like Lewis Cine too, or Cine.
Jalen Petrie is my next best one.
Yeah,
and Lewis Cine.
Yeah, I'll keep it simple. I'll go Jalen Petrie. I think he's a solid pickup for Jacksonville.
Yeah, he gives you a lot of versatility. He can play a little bit slot as well, and he can step down and play like an undersized linebacker role as well. All right, Detroit again. I'm going to try to speed my picks up here a little bit. So I start making some bad selections, but I'm spending less time on the picks. But they signed DJ Chark in free agency. They now have him, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Josh Reynolds, Quentin Cephas, Khalif Raymond. Those are your receivers. That's not a terrible group to go into the year with, frankly.
And then who's they're tight Hawkinson, right? They still have
Hawkinson's your tight end. Yeah. So it's really not bad. They really don't have a bad group of pass catchers there. We didn't take any of the linebackers in the first round.
We did not take any linebackers.
They could use some help at linebacker. They re-signed Alex Anzalone, I know, recently. They had Derek Barnes playing a lot of snaps last year. I don't think Barnes is a good player, but I don't think he's a great player. So it's really down to, for me, it's between Roger McCreary for me and Nakobe Dean or Devin Lloyd. I'm going to take Devin Lloyd here. He's my linebacker one by only 2 or 3 spots. So it's not a huge gap. I think adding Devin Lloyd here gives you someone who's rock settled on the interior, who has the length and ability to impact the passing game, and of course be a run stopper and give you some blitzing options off the give you some options as a pass rusher as well. So Devin Lloyd.
Yeah, I think it was time for one of them to come off the board, and Lloyd is my top linebacker as well.
All right, 35, New York Jets.
Man. 3 picks in the first 40 selections here. I think Ajobo's going to keep falling. And we already talked about how they don't really need edge rushers. They put a lot of money into them anyway. I agree wide receiver is a need for them. But I don't love any of those guys. Damn, this is hard. It's not fun picking for the Jets. It's either gonna be a safety or a wideout. I'm gonna take my next best safety, which is Jaquan Brisker.
All right, Brisker goes to the Jets. The Giants are back on the clock. I believe they have Ekwonu and they have Jermaine Johnson from the first round.
Mm-hmm.
So let me pull up their depth chart one more time. I think receiver, they got Kadarius Toney in the first round last year. They re-signed Sterling Shepard. They renegotiated his contract. They still have Darius Slayton. They have Kenny Galladay.
It's a decent group of receivers.
Yeah, it's all right.
They
fixed the interior offensive line somewhat through free agency, so that's been addressed. They need corner help because they might cut James Bradbury if they can. Because they have some money. But they don't have an outside corner. Shoot. Well, that's annoying. All right, well, let's just look at the best player available because they're rebuilding anyways.
McCreary's kind of a hybrid. You could play him outside.
I think you could. I really like Roger McCreary.
Yeah.
I might still go him here. I think teams, because his arm length is below 30 inches, so most people are going to view him as a slot, even though he was really good in college.
Mm-hmm.
The point where I think you can definitely try to play him outside at the NFL level.
Man, oh man.
Yeah, I don't love being in this spot, frankly, Mark. I think it's tough once you have so many picks for these teams. But yeah, I'm gonna go McCreary. I have a lot of faith in him. He's what? He's 56 on TDN's draft board. He is much higher than mine. He is 23 on mine. So it's a value pick there.
Yeah, he's good. He can, like we said, he's kind of a hybrid. Like, certainly will probably primarily play in the slot, but if you need to throw him outside, I think you can.
All right, Mark, you got Houston, their third pick of the draft. They got Kyle Hamilton and Trevon Walker previously.
I'd love to go corner, but I'm not. My next best one is Kyler Gordon out of Washington, and I think it's too high. They need offensive line. I don't really love any of them either. Jeez. Took a safety already. My best player available that they haven't picked already would be Winfrey out of Oklahoma, but they don't really need defensive tackles. God. I think they need some wideout help. I'm going to go David Bell out of Purdue.
Really? David Bell?
Yeah, I like him. He's your classic. He's your classic X receiver. He's your classic big receiver.
Yeah, he's not that big, unfortunately. That's probably the issue for me, is that he's not
6'1", decent size for an outside guy.
I suppose. New York Jets at 38. This is where Ojabo slide's going to stop because the Jets have time.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can get Ojabo at this point, he's probably not he's definitely not your traditional 4-3 defensive end because he can get blown away too easily in the running game. But you draft him here, you can help him rehab, and you have time to rebuild his body, maybe make him a little bit thicker down below so he's a little bit stronger in his legs and hold it better against the running game. David Ojabo, who is still a first-round value going at 38 to New York Jets.
Yeah, I think like you mentioned yesterday in our group chat, Ajobo's or a couple days ago, Ajobo's not going to make it outside the top 40. So I think that's a good pick for the Jets that he slides there.
The Chicago Bears have their first pick of the 2022 NFL Draft.
And I don't love anything for them right here. Offensive line potentially here, but none of these guys are really that good. Wide receiver. I don't want to start flying with wide receivers though. And my top two guys are really, really slot receivers anyway. Oh man. Oh, Cameron Thomas is there. Yeah, they can replace Khalil Mack with Cameron Thomas. I think that's a good pick for them.
Yeah, this is a really deep edge class. We're going to see edge rushers flying off the board in the first 2 rounds this year. But that brings us to Seattle. They really need tackle help. Bernard Raymond's by far the best tackle out there remaining for me. And if you let him fall past you here at 41 and 40, I really don't know what you're doing as an organization, because you need to at least try to fix that offensive line now and maybe get your quarterback later. Well, you already took a quarterback in this class. You took Malik Willis. So if you're going to do that, you need to fix the offensive line. Dwayne Brown's free agent. Brandon Shell's a free agent. Get Bernard Raymond, bring him in, and help him develop alongside Malik Willis.
Really, Raymond over well, I guess Flaherty is really only a right tackle. I think a left tackle.
I have a lot more concerns about his movement abilities because of his size, and he really did not look great to me at the Senior Bowl. So I think he's a little limited.
Back to Seattle, back to back. They'll probably trade one of these, but for the fun of the game, we can keep it. I'm gonna go Kyler Gordon to Seattle there.
Yep, Washington product. Good player, too. Solid in both man and zone coverages, so I think he'll fit well in Seattle.
Oh, I wish I was making this pick.
Indy?
Yeah.
What would you do with it, Mark? Go ahead.
Our friendly guy out of Cincinnati.
Desmond Ridder?
Yeah. Unless in this reality they're getting Baker Mayfield, but
they aren't in this reality. So I'm actually going to take Desmond Ridder here. I think Desmond Ridder actually fits better than Sam Howell with what Indy wants to do. So I'll put Desmond Ridder
there. Yeah, I agree with that. Solid pick.
Atlanta at 43.
Who do we have? We took Gardner, right? Sauce.
Took Gardner, and you traded up for Kenny Pickett.
So they took their quarterback. They took their cornerback. I mean, you could keep Nakobe Dean in Georgia. What scheme are they running?
Yeah, he just lost the linebacker to Jacksonville in free agency.
Yeah, I think they'd go Dean here. He's the best player available by far. He's still a potential first rounder, and if you get him at 43, I think that's a steal. So I'll go Dean.
All right, Nakobe Dean's coming off the board. Cleveland at 44. This is their first pick of the draft, I believe.
Yes. Yeah, because of that Deshaun Watson trade.
Right.
Rough.
Their wide receiver room is still kind of messy. They got Amari Cooper. They don't have a ton beyond that. I know they drafted Schwartz last year. They have Donovan Peoples-Jones that you always loved quite a bit.
Love DPJ.
They signed Shaquem Grant, who's more of a return man. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to get them Christian Watson. I'm a huge Christian Watson guy. I think he's legit. He's a legit 6'4", not like super heavy. He's kind of a lean guy, but he's got good speed as well at size. And he's got really good hands. So Christian Watson is going to be an excellent deep threat right now for them.
Yeah, it's a solid pick. I have Sky Moore and John Mechie above them, but they're really slot guys. So I think.
How dare you?
I think Watson's going to be, like you said, your big outside receiver.
Yeah.
This is easy for me for Baltimore. I'm going to go Perrin Winfrey at Oklahoma. We didn't get them a D lineman in the first round. They get a decent one in the second round here, and a position that they need help with anyway. So I think it fits well.
Yeah, I think the damage is controlled there. You didn't do too much damage to Pittsburgh's chances of winning the division with that pick, so I'm kind of happy with that. Brings up Minnesota. I think they took Andrew Booth Jr. in the first round. So corner is fixed.
Mm-hmm.
I think they have
Wow.
Cameron Bynum who could play safety
Mm-hmm.
alongside Harrison Smith there. So I'm not too worried about the safety spot, even though they say it's a need. What else we have?
I disagree with the draft network this year for Minnesota.
I also don't know how much it's been updated, so
That's
I
true.
don't know.
Like wide receiver.
And they only have KJ Osborne as a wide receiver 3 who did decent this past year. Ooh. They signed Jordan Hicks.
Yeah, they did. They did get Jordan Hicks.
These linebackers have to come off the board at some point. It's got to happen eventually. I'm going to take Arnold Ebiketie here. I know they have DJ, I think Wanhams is how you pronounce his last name. They drafted a couple years ago. You were getting Daniel Hunter back from injury, but it's been injured the past couple of years. You need some help rushing the passer. Arnold Ebiketie is the guy.
Mm-hmm. Solid pick for Minnesota.
Washington.
The draft network says they need interior offensive line. Is it? I need to look at their depth chart and see which.
They lost Brandon Scherf to Jacksonville in free agency.
That's right. So it's a guard. I think Ryan played tackle. Parham's a center. I'll go Tyler Smith out of
Tulsa.
Kind of a developmental
guy. He played a little
guy.
tackle in college too, but I think he's a really good hybrid player.
Yeah. I mean, maybe a developmental guy, but Washington's got a little bit of time. Not a lot.
It brings up Chicago. I really don't want to pick for Chicago this year. The Bears are in such a bad spot.
Yeah. Stuck in mediocrity.
Yeah, wide receivers in need. They have Byron Pringle to play in the slot along with Daz Newsome, so they don't really have needs at slot. They have issues at tackle. They drafted Tevin Jenkins last year. He didn't play a lot. This is kind of ugly.
Yeah.
I do think they need help at safety
Mm-hmm.
and at corner.
I don't love these corners. I only like one safety that's out there right now.
Where's Daniel Falele on my board? He is 88. Okay, we're not going to do that. This is where the fall for Lewis Scene. This is the fall for where Lewis Scene stops. I'm going to take him here. I know safety's not really shouldn't be a priority here, but I think there's not a lot of guys left on the board that I really like that much.
They could trade out, but I don't. Who's worth trading up really? In the second round, I don't think you're trading up for that much. The
Saints at 49.
So I think Winston. I don't think he's officially re-signed, but I think he's expected to.
Yeah.
And they still have Taysom Hill. So I did they go quarterback here? Did they take Sam Howell's really the only one I would take? They need a long-term solution. And Taysom Hill is not that. So I'll make it interesting. I'll go Sam Howell here to the Saints.
All right. All the quarterbacks I would take in the second round are off the board.
Mm-hmm.
Brings up Miami. Again, a team that's kind of difficult to draft for because we don't really know how they're going to do at quarterback.
Mm-hmm. I gave him Dotson in the first round.
Yeah, we gave him a receiver.
Now what do they do?
All right, looking at their depth chart. Oof.
They got a whole lot of running backs down there in Miami.
Yeah, they do. And a whole bunch of different styles.
And quite the committee.
All right. Yeah, I'm never going to love what I do for Miami. I'm never going to enjoy picking for Miami this year.
Mm-hmm.
This is just a bad team to pick for. All right, we're going to give him Tariq Woolen, which I'm not huge on, really. I'm not a huge fan. I think he's really underdeveloped at this point. He's only played corner for a couple of years. He's got elite athleticism, and frankly, Byron Jones has really underperformed during his contract with the Dolphins, and I think they can try to move on from him in the near future just to save some money. Xavier Howard has been an absolute boss, but like I said, Byron Jones really has not lived up to the money they gave.
Yeah, that was a bad contract that year in free agency. But yeah, I think, like you said, developmental guy, so he's got some time.
The Eagles again at 51.
Again, I'll make this easy. Every year I seem to have a receiver that I just love for some reason, and this year it's George Pickens. I think he's very good. I think he's very underrated. You know, he's not like a first round guy by any means. But I think if he falls to 51, I think that's a solid pick for the Eagles, who need another outside receiver to pair with Devontae Smith. So I'm gonna take George Pickens.
All right, Pittsburgh on the board at 52.
Who'd we give them? Zion Johnson.
Yeah, Zion Johnson. This is not great.
Defensive line.
I'm surprised there's so many linebackers left still, frankly.
Yeah, we went very light on the linebackers.
Yeah. I don't even know. Because top tackle, Falele, Petit Freer, Abraham Lucas, I don't think any of those guys are going to value. Are going to reach the second round. Or no, they're going to probably, but I don't view them as second round value.
Do the Steelers need a right tackle? Yeah, they do, right?
Yeah, they do. Well, I mean, they re-signed the right tackle, gave him over $10 million a year, but he's not that good. So technically, they still need a right tackle. They're never going to draft. They're never going to admit it. They're never going to draft one, but they still technically need a right tackle.
Jeez. Right. It always gets tougher. Let's see. I like the kid from UConn. But
Travis Jones?
Yeah, but he's a nose. Yeah, well, that's what they run in Pittsburgh, right?
Yeah, but they have a nose already in there. All right, you know what? I'm a Clemson guy. Give him Mario Goodrich. Make it easy. I think Goodrich is a third-round pick, but I don't want to spend too long stewing over this.
Yeah.
And I do need cornerback help, and I do like Mario Goodrich in that system.
Back to Green Bay. He's good. The Clemson boys off the board, rounds 1 and 2.
Yep.
The Packers also run a 3-4. They run kind of like a hybrid.
A little bit. They have. I gave him Boye Mafe already.
You did. We took a wide receiver. I think Chad Muma or Mama. I don't know how you pronounce it, but he has some.
Muma's right.
Yeah, I think he's got some hybrid ability in a 4-3-3-4, and they do need a linebacker. So I'll give them Chad Muma.
Now I got Devondre Campbell and Chad Muma at linebacker. That's not bad for them.
Yeah.
Oh boy, this is where I should have saved Mario Goodrich for. This is my fault. I've now set myself up for failure. This is where Mario Goodrich should have gone.
I think we gave New England a receiver. Yeah, we gave him Chris Olave.
Yeah, I'm going to give him a linebacker since the linebackers start going off the board pretty quickly now. I'm going to give him Leo Chenal from Wisconsin. He is interesting. He's not going to be great in coverage, but he is really good on the first downs. He's going to be really good as a blitzer. And if you're looking to replace someone like Dante Hightower, who was not great in coverage this past year anyways, Leo Chenal, who's 250 pounds, but moves like he's 230, is really going to help you out.
Very athletic interior guy. All right.
Arizona
again. Jeez. Who do they have in the slot if they lost Christian Kirk?
They have Byron Murphy in the slot? Oh, you mean for receiver? I was thinking
receiver.
For defense.
Who do they have playing inside receiver? I guess Rondale, he won't move outside.
No, he's like 5'7".
Yes, he's short. Yeah. All right, so they can't. I'd love to give them one of these receivers, but they're slot guys, and I don't think any other ones are worth taking right now. Anyway, I mean, the running back room they have James Conner, but after that, they don't really have. But you don't take a running back in the second round. These corners, I'll go Alante Taylor. He's my top corner on the board left. He's not really a day one guy as of right now, but I don't know what else to do for Arizona there. I don't really like the way we've shaped the board.
Yeah, Taylor's my corner 10 at 81.
Yeah. I mean, corners have come flying off anyway, so
Yeah, it's gonna happen.
yeah.
All right,
To Dallas.
Dallas. Dallas is gonna take Scatmore.
Oh yeah. I
mean, they signed James Washington, who's going to be like they're actively going to be their slot, and they have a guy that drafted last year in the late rounds who could play slot as well. But I think Sky Moore is a clear upgrade over both those guys.
Yeah, agreed. Good value here in the second round.
Buffalo.
We took Jordan Davis. I don't think they really need anything else along. Who's their slot receiver? They have Diggs and then Gabriel Davis. They cut Cole Beasley.
Yeah, they did.
Okay, so yeah, give me John Mechie. Throw him in the slot.
All right, Philadelphia.
Oh
so
yeah,
we got some options here at edge.
Yeah, not
but
bad.
Mark, let me tell you, that linebacker you never draft.
Is this
Let
it?
me introduce you to someone. Let me introduce you to Troy Anderson. Actually, you know what? You don't even need to. We can give you a Brian Asamoah instead.
I like. Well, I'd be.
Yeah,
fine
he's
with
really
that.
good in coverage. I think he's gonna. Him, Christian Harris, Darian Beavers, Tanning Tindall, Troy Anderson are all going to be in play, in my opinion, and potentially Quay Walker are all going to be in play for the second round. So there's a lot of linebackers. We really have gone late in the linebackers, but I think Asamoah gives you a really good coverage option.
Yeah, and that's exactly the Eagles need a coverage linebacker. Desperately, we need any linebacker, but they need a coverage one desperately. So yeah, we held off on the linebackers, but now they're flying off the boards here.
Green Bay again.
Oh my god, I hate picking for Green Bay.
You gave him Chad Muma just a few picks ago. We gave him Garrett Wilson, and we also gave him who we give him on the edge? I forget. Boye Mafe.
They have Kenny. Yeah, I'm looking at defense. They have Kenny Clark, who's very good. Not pretty good. He's very good as a nose tackle. So they're not going to go Travis Jones. Give them an edge rusher. Oh, this would be fun. My top tight end on the board is Trey McBride.
There you go.
Let's give them a little bit of an upgrade.
All right, two new pass rushers for Aaron. Two more pass catchers for Aaron Rodgers. Then,
yeah,
takes us to Tampa. I gotta look at how Tampa changed their depth chart because I know they got a bunch of receiving options or re-sign guys.
Yeah.
At corner, they still have Ross Cockrell. They have Sean Murphy-Bunting. They signed Logan Ryan, who can be a safety / slot sometimes. They have Jamel Dean. They re-signed Carlton Davis. I don't know why corner is a need here. I know they have a bunch of guys who are entering free agency next year, but not this season immediately. So corner, I'm going to ignore. Wide receiver, I think Jalen Tolbert here is not a bad pick, but I don't know if you really want to invest it there. If you can find someone else you like. Let's see.
Oh man, I know what I would do.
What would you do, Mark?
Well, no, I don't. It's your pick. I influenced one. I don't want to influence.
All right, you can tell me later.
Yeah.
Who we give him? We give him an interior offensive lineman. Who was it in the first round? Kenyon Green.
Yeah, Kenyon Green.
I'm going to give him Travis Jones. I think.
You think?
Yeah, I'm going to do it because he's going to replace Ndamukong Suh for them.
Yeah, that's true.
Actually, no. No, I changed my mind. I'm going to give him Logan Hall because he's going to play the same role that Vernon Golston played for, or William Golston, excuse me. William Golston played for them as a 3-4 defensive end. He's going to play that role at the next level, in my opinion. What would you have done?
Isaiah Spiller, because they have no running back right now. in Tampa Bay.
Oh yeah, I suppose.
I think Keyshawn Vaughn is their top. Yeah, they have no one.
Yeah.
Although, I agree that running backs need to be undervalued significantly.
There are probably going to be 2 or 3 running backs to go in the second round this year.
Yeah.
But we haven't taken any of them yet.
All right.
San Francisco.
San Fran. I need to check the depth chart. They have Alex Mack at center. I think they need a left guard.
For Laken Tomlinson, right?
Yeah. I think Sean Ryan played tackle, but he projects as a guard.
He's a really athletic player too.
Yeah. I'm gonna go to San Fran.
Sean Ryan goes there. Kansas City, I gave a safety, which is a little bit of a weird pick to start the day. Yeah, I don't love any of the corners left in the second round.
Nope.
See a linebacker.
Or wideouts, really.
I like one of the wideouts.
Really? That we haven't taken yet?
I like Jalen Tolbert a lot.
Oh, yes.
Because he's the one that everyone, I mean, look, Calvin Austin, Kyle Phillips, Wandale Robinson, Khalil Shakir, all slot receivers.
Exactly.
Except for Jalen Tolbert. But I do think they need an edge rusher to replace Melvin Ingram if they're not going to get him back.
True.
So if you've got Juju Smith-Schuster and you got McCole Hardman, you got Terry Kill, that's not great, but that's still workable. So I would take Josh Pascal here. Mm-hmm. And really him, Kingsley Nagbury, Drake Jackson, Nick Benil are all in play at the spot.
Yeah.
I'd say Majay Sanders is too. If he can prove he can maintain weight and he's healthy.
It's a solid pick for them. Again, that team in win now mode.
AFC champion, Cincinnati Bengals, Mark.
Again, look at their depth chart. What do they got on the O-line right now? I know they invested heavy. Isaiah Prince, Jonah Williams.
That's right. They have a whole right tackle right now.
Yeah, I don't really like. I mean, I think he'll get. Yeah, I think Falele can get picked here. I think this is fine for him for a right tackle.
All right, Falele coming off the board. And Denver with their first pick in the draft so far. Oh, they need a right tackle. I shouldn't have said anything. I got Tom Compton. That's not bad.
TDN this year. I don't think Denver needs anything on defense. I think they're pretty solid.
I think they lost a lot on defense this year.
Did
they lost Kyle Fuller, Bryce Callahan in secondary, Kareem Jackson at safety, Alexander Johnson at linebacker, Kenny Young at linebacker.
Jeez, I missed all that.
Yes, they do have a bunch of needs on defense. They've lost a lot of players. But none of the corners I'm really a big fan of at this point. At least not this high.
No.
Yeah, Josie Jewell had Baron Browning. They drafted last year, played linebacker. Jeez.
Yeah, it's tough for Denver here.
Yeah, I'm not loving any of these individual picks.
Let's do a sidebar here. Is Denver a playoff team this year with Russell Wilson?
Yeah.
As the roster stands? Wow.
Yeah, as it is right now, I think they're good enough. As long as Courtland Sutton stays healthy.
Yeah, that's true.
I think that's what things could hinge on, really.
But even if he doesn't, I mean, they've still got Jerry Jeudy, right? They got
Tim Patrick.
Yeah.
KJ Hamler.
Yeah.
All right. I don't want to spend too much time on the last pick here. I really could go running back because I know Melvin Ingram's a free agent. I could just pair someone with Javonte Williams, but instead I'm going to go linebacker. I'm going to take we'll just take Christian Harris here.
Did they re-sign Melvin Gordon?
No, they didn't re-sign Melvin Gordon. They're not going to.
Is he still available?
Yes, he's still free agent.
Crazy. Yeah, running backs.
Because he's getting up there in age.
Yeah, true. That's a solid draft.
So we had one trade in this draft. Mark traded out of the first round with Philadelphia. And I'm just going to scroll through this here so people can see our picks. Mark, any final thoughts before we sign off here?
No, it was good to be back. After about a year hiatus. I love mock season. We've got about a month left until the draft. I think the end of April. So
Yeah,
it should be
only about a
fun.
month. It's surprising.
Yeah, yeah. And then free agency just started. There's still a lot of decent names out there that could impact the way we drafted anyway. So it was a wild week already. So and I'm sure it'll get crazier leading up to the draft.
Yeah, this will all be outdated by the end tomorrow. Yep, I'm just gonna finish scrolling through here so everyone can see all of our picks, and then we'll sign off for the day.
Very good.
All right, that's everything. I'm going to link that. I'm going to go back in and link it in the description of this video so you can go and say that later on. And I did miss the chat here. Someone said I say running back, and I agree. Some of these running backs are going to go in the first round, but or in the second round, but we just didn't have any go.
Yeah.
But I will leave a link to that mock draft in the chat below in a few minutes, so you can go see it that way. For now, Mark, anything else you want to say? Anything else you want to add? Social media, anything like that?
No, I'm not
Not
like
social
an
media
Albert
guy?
Breer. Yeah, I'm not like an Albert Breer or Ian Rappaport. I got nothing on my Twitter people want to see. So all good.
You guys can follow me at Sam_Teets33 on Twitter. I think the link to that is in the description of this video. Feel free to check out my pin tweet. It's a link to my newsletter, which I post on about 4 times a week. Mock draft content, all kinds of draft content, as well as NFL content. So to go check that out. I encourage you to just subscribe. It's free. You just need to put your email in. You'll get updates anytime I post a new article. So that's all, guys. That's all I wanted to say for today. Mark, for signing off. Thank you so much for coming by. Hopefully, you do one more of these before the draft comes around.
Yes, sir.
But all right, guys.
All right.
Have a good day.
Thanks, guys.